You just muted yourself, John. Can you unmute?
Okay, here we go. Welcome everyone to our online Echo Temple community. We have been in existence for now roughly 9 years, I guess, is when we first began. And I think we had our first solo conference. When was that? Maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So Echo Temple is along the lines of the International Network of Engaged Buddhists. It's a radical approach to Buddhism and ecology. To use the wonderful words of the INEB founder, Ajahn Sulak, it is not goody-goody Buddhism, where we just collect plastic bottles and put them in the right container and have people do sort of superficially nice looking environmental activities like recycling. It's a more radical and systemic approach that involves using the Buddhist temple or any Buddhist institution. Doesn't have to be a Buddhist temple, and it doesn't have to be centered around monks, as we can see with today's speaker, Kanchana, who is a female layperson. But Buddhist concepts around a Buddhist center that uses ecological construction materials, works on the surrounding environment, works to educate and mobilize the community in ecological development work towards a different economic paradigm, and also has aspects of eco-dharma, so that there is a Buddhist ethics to the whole thing. So anyone can learn more about us at our nice new web page. If I don't write it in Japanese, I'm putting it in the chat right now. ecotemple.net, not with a capital. There we go, ecotemple.net. And so without further ado, I want to introduce you all to Kanchana, who will give her own bit of self-introduction. But she has been a member of our community for quite a while, and she's doing really great work. I don't know how to explain it. You'll see it in the presentation, but very important work for our transformational concept, especially for our temple communities. Without further ado, Kanchana, please take the floor. And oh, Melinda, you would, as our host.
Yeah, no, I just want to say also, thank you, John, a few words about Kanchana, because I also remember having met her first in Sri Lanka. She is from Sri Lankan origin, where she started more than 20 years ago, her eco conservation activism with her own organization, the Eco-Friendly Volunteers. And I remember that when I first met Kanchana there, she's been busy organizing this, I think it was annual, if I'm not mistaken, this Eco-Friendly Volunteers roadshow in Sri Lanka, where people gathered to do environmental good by the guidance of Kanchana. And then in 2013, that's when she developed the idea of Metta Garden, to create these gardens in semi-urban environments in Sri Lanka, and with the intention of restoring biodiversity in these areas, and really use this as also growing food in these urban environments to as an act of climate adaptation. I don't want to give more information about Metta Garden. I'm going to hand it over to Kanchana, but I just want to say she's a true inspiration for me, and I'm really hoping that it's going to be for anyone else who's listening to this now. Thank you. Kanchana, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Melinda. And also John, for your lovely and lovely words with full of metta. I felt it. And I think our community of Eco Temple is always with full positive vibes. So it's really nice to be with you all today. And of course, today I'm sharing the Metta Garden concept for the first time with you all officially, but I know that I have been talking about this for a long time. So I hope that some others will also learn from this concept, because anybody can apply this no matter which religion or which spirituality you believe in. It is all about universal positive energies and the cosmic energies that we all are surrounded with on this planet. So what I really believe is that through our gardens, we can really acquire those positive vibes and make us better species, not very selfish and egocentric human, but more peaceful and ecocentric human, that we really want to have this beautiful future for us, our species, as well as other species. So let's try how we can create these beautiful feelings among ourselves through our beautiful gardens we all have. So I'm sharing my presentation with you all with some slides. And Melinda, tell me if I think you can see it. I'm going to the slide.
Yes, you can see that.
And I am going to the slideshow mode. So hopefully, yeah. Can you see it's moving now?
Yes, it is moving. Thank you.
Okay, great. So yeah, so Metta Garden is the concept that I think I started developing in 2012, end of 2012, and then started implementing in 2013 in Sri Lanka. I also want to tell you that though I am from Sri Lanka, I'm talking to you now from New Delhi, India, because at the moment I'm residing there, but nature is everywhere. So it's so nice to talk about this topic with you all, wherever I am. And the Metta Garden is the concept that I really name it as gardens with loving kindness to help urban and peri-urban biodiversity in Sri Lanka. Why it is urban and peri-urban, if I say so? I see that due to climate change and all other environmental issues, people are migrating to more cities, and then cities are becoming less populated with other species, but very much highly populated with human beings. So ultimately, these peri-urban and urban setups are becoming concrete jungles. So I believe that as human, we originated as a normal species from natural environment, going away from that natural environment and becoming more concrete jungle associated species. We are losing a lot of our sensitivity. And of course, the future generation, that is my worry as a mother of 2 sons. If we really let them develop with our electronic gadgets and with the so-called concrete houses, and maybe the houses are fully comfortable for the young generation with all artificial environment, but we are losing the natural connectivity to the universe. So therefore, what I believe is, even within the limited space we have in the urban setup, we still can start growing something. So we still can start giving that, sharing that space with plants. And with the plants, some other animals will also share that space. It will be limited. We can't have elephants in the urban setup, but at least we will have some ants and earthworms and some other insects, bugs, who are also having a beautiful life in their world. But as human, we are prioritizing our priorities. Therefore, we are less respecting other species. So why I really would love to have this concept of metta gardening among ourselves is, if we really have a metta garden, I believe that we can really connect with natural environment, whatever the way available for us within the challenges we are facing nowadays. So with that introduction, I am sharing my metta garden concept. So the metta is the meaning of loving kindness. And I'm a Buddhist, born Buddhist, but I'm not a huge practitioner of Buddhism as a religion, but I really like to follow the Buddhist philosophy, but I'm not really aware of that huge, beautiful philosophy. But I'm trying to be more practical. Like John said, the engaged Buddhism, we are just researchers. We are just trying to practice something what we believe in. So Metta Garden is really fitting into that concept, because this is kind of a modern and a timely needed concept, I believe, and also nicely inculcated with Buddhist philosophy, metta, loving kindness. What I believe is, if we as human can understand as beings, either living beings or non-living beings. When we say that, when we take the environment, there are lots of elements and we can categorize them into two main components, living and non-living. So this whole ecosystem has those components. We as humans sometimes forget the non-living elements, but they are also very helpful for us. If I don't have this computer with me now, right now, I can't reach you. But computer is technically a non-living being. But me as a living being, as a human, if I have metta towards my computer, and I will give the due respect for my computer, and I will connect with it, and I will protect it, and it will help me. So this is the simple concept that I would love to keep practicing in Metta Garden. So understand us as well as other beings, and also what are the common elements for us and other beings. So it is a space, Metta Garden is a space to connect with nature using 5 sensory organs. Though I say 5 sensory organs, in the Metta Garden, I'm talking about 6 sensory organs. I will explain it further. And also, Metta Garden is a space with peace. Peace is a beautiful word that we all human can have in ourselves, within ourselves. If we develop the peace or ahimsa or non-violence feelings among ourselves, inside, inner environment will be very peaceful, and obviously our reactions through 5 sensory organs to the outer world will be also peaceful. If my inner environment is peaceful, not to harm anybody, I won't hit anybody with my hand, but I will really touch it with gentle touch, and also I will look after that. So that is a small reaction coming out of within myself to the outer world. So I believe if we can inculcate this metta among the children, I believe that there won't be any war in the world. And this is a space, the Metta Garden is a space created by human being, because the planet has its own ecosystems, and they are getting degraded due to the human activities. So Metta Garden, once we start it, we can recreate that ecosystem without a very selfish feeling. So that is something I really would love to tell the world, that we can recreate the ecosystem through Metta gardening. So that garden will become an ecosystem automatically, and it happened in our situation. I will share that. And it is a space for all living beings. So as I said, it is a space for non-living beings also, but it is a space for living beings, all. And that is what, according to science, according to environmental science, it is biodiversity. So once you start your Metta garden, you will start with less biodiversity, but once you create it gradually with the optimum conditions, you will create an ecosystem. I will give you some examples. So when I talk about designing the Metta garden, it is like anybody in the who are into agriculture. This space is also 100% organically functioning. So I would say even beyond organically, it is naturally functioning. It is a space that we create, but it will start functioning naturally. And it has some components that we have introduced. It has to be mandala or circular or waves. It can't be a rigid vegetable beds or rigid structures. Why we say that is, we as human or in this world, there are no such rigid lines. Even the sun rays have a little curving things, but there are lines and rectangles and anything. But according to natural world, I see it's more, 99% is like either wavy or mandala, a circular or round shapes. Even when we take the trees, the formation of leaves in that tree also has a mandala. So we see lots of mandala in the world, in the natural world. So we would love to have that kind of designing in our Metta gardening also. And why we should do that? We have to respect the landscape. We have to respect the contours. We have to respect the existing formation of that little garden. We can't really change everything just because we are the gardeners. So with that due respect, we try to help the natural world to function as an ecosystem. So that is one other feature of Metta gardening designing concept. And preferably, I always say, let's for the showcase all 5 elements, which are apo, in Sanskrit it's water, and then tejo, which is heat, and vayo, it is air, and patavi, which is solid, and avakash is space. All these 5 great elements are very common to living and non-living beings. We as animals, we have apo in our body, water, and the plants have water, and the soil has water, and the nature, the space has water vapor. So, and rain, everything. So what is the difference? Water is everywhere. And for animals, water is the life. So we, in the mother's womb, we are floating in water. So without water, we can't live. So understanding that element among ourselves, we start respecting water. So that is why we need to showcase these elements in our gardens, because we can't have any selfish actions when we are gardening. And also, if the urban setup, people don't have any ground space anymore. So if they really want to become a Metta garden, it could be a balcony. We can convert a balcony, which is a concrete structure, or a terrace, or a small space that they have, using some containers into Metta gardening, into Metta gardens. So if you really are willing to become a Metta gardener, we can follow some other ways, methods, and in the modern world, it is called vertical gardening or container gardening or something. But still you can do it with lots of Metta. So there are no such restrictions to become a Metta gardener, saying that you don't have space. But what you need is, need to have that willingness to become a Metta gardener. And also, we are, in the designing process, we are encouraging lots of mulch on the surface. Mulch is like covering the surface with dead leaves or dead twigs or something. Why we should do that? We have to really protect the under layers of the surface, because there are millions of microbes who are living on our soil. We should respect their lives. We should let them live. So for that, we have to help them. We really can't clear the surface like in modern agriculture. You can't clear and remove all the grasses, saying that grasses are weeds. No, we don't have such terminology in our Metta gardening. All are friends and all have the purpose of life in this world. So there are no such weeds or pesticides or weed killers. No, those all are beyond Metta. We don't want to have such into our Metta concept. So we are thinking about the resource utilization, maximum and sustainable utilization in Metta garden concept. So therefore, we are respecting the limitations of materials, and we will be upcycling some materials. We are reusing some materials, and we are giving the diversity of plants, saving water. And of course, we are not over manuring it. We are not just putting loads of compost into the plants, saying that, okay, we can use compost because it's organic, it's natural. No, still we have to understand the level of compost that we have to put into a plant. So it is very much scientific, and you can't really overload anything with external pressure. We have to go with the natural flow. That is where again Metta is very much needed, to understand each other. So it is a very much rebuilding the function of ecosystem. It will function automatically once we establish that, once we create that space which had gone down, but we can bring it back. So with that concept and designing, we started our first Metta garden practically in Sri Lanka. You can see these pictures in 2013. This is very close to our eco-friendly volunteers office, and we got this land for us, for mine and my husband's personal use, but we donated it to the organization because we wanted to do something new. This land was in Sri Lanka. I don't know whether you are familiar with this word. They call developing lands. So what they do is, if they have abandoned land, they just develop it with a backhoe, and they remove all the growth from the surface and nicely pave it with some mud, and they just put some pressure and flatten the land, and then they start selling it. So this piece of land was the same, and before we got it as a tightly flattened land which didn't have any tree on it. It's a very small block in this urban setup, peri-urban setup. And then we had to put this fence around it just to protect it from stray cows and other people who really trespass it without any notice. So we were a little upset about putting this fence because we are limiting some natural animals as well. But we couldn't do that because those are the challenges in urban setup. So this land became like this in 2 years, actually even less than 2 years. You can see the first picture and then how bare it was, but how many trees in it. And it is like now a small forest. Actually, I was in Sri Lanka 2 weeks ago, and due to pandemic, I couldn't go to Sri Lanka. It was a huge forest. And when I entered that forest, I was thinking, oh my goodness, what a space that we have created. But again, there were some challenges with the forest environment. There were less butterflies, because butterflies want to have more sunlight. So there are things that we have to think when we are doing Metta gardening. So you can see the road here, and that is the main road for the people the neighbors to go back and forth, but it is next to this land, and this is the only remaining natural plot in that area that managed by human. But people really love it. All the medicinal plants are there, the beautiful greenery is there, birds are there, And of course, neighbors are bringing their kitchen waste to this plot. Therefore, we are making neighbors' kitchen waste into compost. So it is a huge concept that I will share a little bit more soon. And then the beauty of it is now our Metta garden in Sri Lanka looks like a beautiful garden in the urban setup. And when we started as that bare land, there were only 6 species of butterflies we noticed. We did this research. We did surveys who are there at that moment in 2013. And only 6 species we recorded over the period. But after 2.5 years, we recorded 93 species of butterflies in that plot. So which is a huge achievement, because in the wet zone of Sri Lanka, I think we are getting around 110 or 120. I'm not exactly sure about the number, butterfly species in the wet zone where this garden is. But we have 93 species. And I'm sure that if we count again over the period, we will have few more species there. And also we recorded in that bare flattened land, we recorded only 11 species of plants. But over the period of 2 years, we recorded 212 species, including some species we planted. But our first step was we let all the so-called weeds, they call weeds, but for us, it's wild plants to grow. And all these wild plants, and I'm really happy to say that in Sri Lanka, if you take the natural environment, 99% of natural environment, the plants are either herbs or medicinal plants. So that is such biodiversity we have in wet zone of Sri Lanka. So all these are very beautiful plants with a purpose. There were few invasive, alien invasive species which were introduced to Sri Lanka, but only few, I think about 2 invasive species we found. But other than that, it's just the natural plants that we had. So also we had birds, reptiles, bees, beetles, wasps, dragonflies, and damselflies. All these were just coming into this plot, which were not visible before. And we were so thrilled. And frogs and toads. And of course, there were some rare reptiles, and which I saw one day under my beehive. And I just closed it back because I was so thrilled to see him. I know it's a poisonous snake. And I was a little scared about my neighbors. Because if they knew that poisonous snake is there, I don't know what will happen. That is another challenge in the urban setup. But I was so thrilled to see him. I knew that he lived there, and eventually he just had a little rest maybe, then he was going somewhere. I don't know. But that is what happened for us. And when we started, there were no bees. And we started planting some flowers for the bees, and then the bees came. So now we have natural beehives living in our garden, and we are not harvesting any bee honey, because the purpose of having bees and butterflies and other insects for us is the pollination. We really want to have the pollinators to live long, for us to live long. And I'm sure that you have heard, if the bees in the world were gone, the humanity will be also gone within few years, because we need to have food. So this space is giving food for all of us. And this food is natural, poison-free, organic, or whatever you call it. It's beautiful food, and all sort of food we are getting. And the beauty of it is we are sharing it with neighbors. So the neighbors come and ask, or whether we have excess, we just give it to them. And it is a kind of a community bonding space, which is very, very small. I don't know how you call it. It is about, we call it 18 perches. I think it's about 80 feet long and 40 feet width area, square area. We call it in Sri Lanka perches. It's not acres, you can understand, because it's not huge. It's a very small space. And then with that concept, when I moved into Delhi 4 years ago, my association with a Buddhist temple here in Delhi, Mahabodhi Society, with the permission of a chief monk, I created this space, Metta Garden in Delhi. You can see the beautiful mandala here, the first picture, and the venerables and us working together to create that space. So this Metta Garden was very helpful during the COVID, and you can see it was growing, and then the winter crops like cabbage and all, and then the summer crops like mustard. So all these were there. This mustard patch was full of bees. And then this temple, this food patch is again very small. You can see only this mandala area, very small, but it really helped during the pandemic for the venerables to have nutritious food, because shops were closed, vegetables were scarce at the first lockdown last 2020 March. By that time, all were shocked. We couldn't go to shops or anything to buy our vegetables, but this garden provided food for our venerables, so which was very nice. Even it provided some beetroots and carrots for the trapped people who were seeking some rescue, some shelter in this temple, who couldn't go to Sri Lanka. So they were also living there and they were having. So this is a seasonally growing patch, and now winter is coming here. So we will be planting more soon. So this Metta Garden also gave a lot of insight for these venerables as well as the visitors to see what a miracle that we can do during once you give some space for nature, because before it was a bare land, nobody was growing anything, and it was not fully growing anyway. But they saw the butterflies and bees in the middle of Delhi, which is a very, very urbanized city, but they all were happy to see all these creatures who were coming into the Metta Garden. So it's a beautiful feeling for them. And then when I think about this model is successful in growing food that is helpful for us. It is beneficial for the gardener and the gardener's family, but definitely it is helping the biodiversity. So there is a very, very altruistic happiness in it. And it is a garden sharing with all living beings, with biodiversity. And of course, the knowledge that you are gaining out of this space, that you will start inquiring about, what is this bug? What is this fly? Is it a bee, or is it a butterfly? Or in the night, are the bats coming? So people started, especially younger generations, started learning about it, learning about other beings, the biodiversity, more doing some scientific research. So in Sri Lanka, our Metta Garden in Sri Lanka is a scientific research plot. We are measuring the rainfall there. We are measuring the temperature sometimes. We are maintaining the checklist. So we know which species are doing well, which are going down. So it is a kind of a research plot for us now, because that is how the knowledge come into the Metta concept, and then just we can take it forward as a scientific method. And loving kindness and respect for biodiversity means we can talk about conservation of biodiversity, because once you have loving kindness, you are not harming anybody. So I believe that if we really inculcate this into the kids' mindset, younger generation, through their little space or little home garden, and they will be eventually learning about the huge topic of biodiversity conservation. And this is a place that we can understand the climate change repercussions to the biodiversity and to us. So then it is becoming a more knowledgeable place to understand the climate change, because last week when I was there, it was raining like nothing. And then the rainfall is too much for some of the vegetables. So then we had to manage and raise the beds for some more, to enabling us to protect those vegetables, because water clogging is really harming those vegetables. So that is science and agriculture science. So those things are automatically coming into as a practical plot, that if we really become a small Metta gardener, with that understanding, and also understanding the interconnectedness. So our message through Metta Garden to the world is that we have to understand the ecosystem functions. Ecosystem is full of interconnectedness, and all the links are like a cobweb. We can't ignore anybody. We can't have the soil nutritious if the earthworm is not there, because earthworm and the microbes are making the soil fertile. So we can't have fertile soil without those microbes. That connection should be there. And then we can't have good food without fertile soil. So then that connection is there. What we can do is, maybe if the soil is not fertile, we can put some chemicals. But today the world has realized that chemical grown food is giving us cancer and all other non-communicable diseases. Therefore, why should we grow when it is not a commercially growing plot? Why should we apply any poison for us? Even in a commercial growing plots, now people are thinking about organic farming. At least they are trying to do it, or permaculture farming. They are trying to do it, but it is not 100% successful yet because the demand is too much. But when the home garden is there, at least if you can have that understanding of interconnectedness, you can have poison food. And so individual actions matter in your Metta Garden. So the basic message that we are trying to spread through Metta Gardening is not only gardening. It is coming with the concept of conscious consumerism. We grow whatever just enough for us and to share with somebody else. So it is not greedy ways of growing things, because when we have this conscious consumerism, cabbage is for me, but one cabbage is for cabbage moth. That kind of understanding is there because cabbage moth has to live as well. So then we allow them to have little bites in the cabbage leaf. So when we grow some mustard, we know the pollinators we need. So consciously, we are consuming mustard and allowing mustard flowers to come, where the bees can come and have their nectar and go and collect some pollen and have the beehives. So then we are happy because our mustard is getting pollinated and we are getting the seeds ultimately, but at the same time, beehive is also thriving. So that conscious consumerism, not a selfish consumerism. It's a very, very altruistic happiness. We share our little space with everybody kind of feeling is there. When you practically do it, it is happening. And it is also sustainable waste management. No polythene, no plastic in this plot, and no waste actually. It is all resources we are talking about. Even the neighbors are bringing their kitchen waste, which is not a waste anymore. It is going to be a resource for us in our compost making process, because my own home or our office is not producing enough food waste because we are consciously consuming our food, therefore no waste. At the same time, that kitchen waste is no more waste, it's a resource. So it is coming to us as a resource. So composting is happening where the earthworms are happy, microbes are happy, and where the fertile soil is getting generated. Regenerative system of the soil is happening. And of course, we are getting developed the positive qualities. This is the beauty of it. And I have about 15 Metta gardeners in Sri Lanka now. They all share their feedback with us, and they say how much inner qualities that they have developed among themselves, inner and outer peace. I will give you one example. Once you enter to your Metta garden, it is a place without any bad vibes. It is a place, no chemicals, no bad vibes. And you can munch anything out of just, you just break it and munch it. And while you are breaking that leaf, you are paying respect for that, and you are becoming thankful for that plant or herb for giving you that leaf to you. And that mindset, that mind connectivity is there, where automatically inner peace is generating, because you don't get any hatred feeling. You don't get envious. You don't get any angry or anything, no bad feeling. So your mind is becoming so peaceful. And when you see the birds there, when you see the bugs here and there, one day when I entered the garden, a butterfly came and hit on my forehead. I was like quite surprised. What happened? And I was also going like, and the butterfly was also flying like just peacefully. And then we had that. And all of a sudden I said, oops, sorry. And I felt that he was also saying sorry, kind of, because he just flew away. So these are kind of emotionally happening for us. That's why in Metta Garden, we talk about 6 sensory organ as well, which is the emotion or spirituality, or you can name it something, I don't know. It is beyond our 5 sensory organs that you can feel the warmth, the water, and you can feel the smell, you can taste, and you can hear, and you feel through your skin. But that kind of incident is giving you a different feeling, the loving kindness and the emotions. So that is something that you are developing through Metta gardening, which is very, you are having a very peaceful mindset. And of course, outer peace is developing because you are peaceful within you. And then you give the peace out and you don't have any bad reactions. So then you respect that incident, and one day there was a kingfisher. And when I was digging my compost, and there were beautiful earthworms, and when I looked somewhere else, the kingfisher came and just dragged one earthworm out of my area. And I was like, what? No, because those earthworms are so precious. But then when I think about the kingfisher, that is the food for him. So what I thought was, okay, I'm not going to expose my earthworms for you. You have to find your food, because if I expose my earthworms, then I'm just providing you food. I'm not supposed to do that. You are supposed to find your own food. So I'm just covering. If you want, you can come and find your food. So I just walk away. So that kind of interaction is happening through our mind. And of course, we are getting respect, developing respect for the earthworms, for the kingfisher, and for the space. And also we are getting lots of patience, because then I had to walk away, because if I did the composting continuing the composting thing, that kingfisher will catch all my earthworms. But then I had to go somewhere and do something else. So I had to have patience to just walk away from there and do something else until I get another opportunity to come back and do some composting. And of course, within the Metta garden, once you enter there, you hear lots of bird calls and other interactions, wind and sometimes rain. So you are observing the silence within the noise. It is very beautiful experience and very difficult to explain as well, because rain has its own silence. I don't know whether you have experienced it. It is noisy, but once you connect with rain sound, it has its own tune and the silence. And believe me, and try to experience it. This is something that I learned through my Metta gardening. And of course, in the morning and evening, we do a lot of environmental meditations using this Metta gardening, sitting meditation, walking meditation, and a lot of interactive meditation. And it is all relaxation of mindset. And that is a very healthy lifestyle for us. We eat healthy food and we interact healthy with the environment. We interact with the healthy environment. Therefore, no poison coming into our bodies. So once you have that Metta garden, you can have all these experiences. So finally, what I have to share with you is, once you become a Metta garden, you can go away from your egoistic feelings. And we say that egocentric thinking. And egocentric thinking is very much damaging. I am sure that you experience this. The power pyramid is no more in work. The pandemic, thanks to pandemic, we learned that human is not the most powerful animal on this planet. a tiny virus became very powerful, and he or she was able to put us into the lockdown, and then we saw the power in it. And I don't know how many humans in the world had learned that lesson, but we have to understand that. I'm sure our community, Cork Temple community, would understand that very clearly, because we have that ego of we are the powerful people, we animal, we can do anything. No, it's not. It's very wrong. So then we have to think about the beautiful and healthy thought process, which is ecocentric. Ecocentric is the next picture of that round circular interconnectedness is showing. Nobody is powerful, nobody is at the hierarchical level. All are in this planet are like everywhere. Therefore, we don't know who is going to help us, where we are going to connect with. So that kind of thinking is very much needed for the present and future generation, enabling us to live on this planet healthy and happily. So that is where we can develop the Metta for biodiversity. So biodiversity is this very much, I see the connection with the ecocentric thinking, because in that cycle, not only human is living, all the biodiversity is there. So that biodiversity is seen and unseen. So because we can't see the microbes, but we know the importance of soil microbe having us some fertile soil. So likewise, through these activities, we start to respect the biodiversity. We start to interact with the biodiversity very peacefully. So that is what we can gain from Metta gardening and paradigm shift in this thinking. And it is a very practical way of shift. And I have seen it through our 15 Metta gardeners who are telling us, giving us feedback, who are in the process. They simply say, oh my God, I had this garden many more years before even, but now only I see this particular bug here. Now only I hear this sound in my garden. So imagine how beautiful that transformation is. So if we can experience nature like that, I'm sure we will be happy human. And if we can respect butterfly when it's just perching on a leaf or getting nectar out of a flower, what a beautiful process that is. Because if we can give the due respect for an earthworm and then gently touch it, not feeling yucky or slimy, or the kids are sometimes when they see bugs, they say, oh, yucky. But if we can teach our kids, they are also very, very respectful animals, and we have to give the due respect to them. What else we can teach our younger generation? So my message through the Metta gardening is we all are same living beings, and we have all the non-living beings helping us. So we have to respect everybody with great Metta. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kanchana. You were just on time with all the limitation of our time here. I would like to open the questions for other people who are here. I see some familiar faces, and also there's some other people who I don't know by names. So whoever has a question, could you please raise your hand down here at the reactions buttons, or you can press it and then you see who has a question.
I have a question.
Hi, Emily, go for it.
And thank you, Kanchana. That was a fabulous talk. And as always, there were more pieces for me to kind of sit with and chew on, including how do I give more metta to my computer. Loving kindness to this computer. I'm wondering if you could talk a bit about the process of creating and teaching with people to learn how to make a metta garden, and how that, how do people learn how to put the right amount of compost and the proper kind of compost? Is it experiential? Are there guidelines? How does that kind of unfold for what is, while responsive, it also seems to be specific?
Yeah, Emily. Actually, this composting and everything is very technical, and it's depending on the country's climate and country's norms. Because I know that Sri Lankan composting and Indian composting, sometimes it's different, because here in India we have the winter season, summer season, but in Sri Lanka we don't have that. So obviously when we do this practically, you have to acquire some local knowledge, and maybe you have to refer some reading materials available. And then with that basic knowledge, you have to start your composting. For example, when I came to India, I'm a zero waste lifestyle. I have zero waste lifestyle. So I have my own composting. Even I live in an apartment. So when I came to India, I had to learn about how to make compost in Delhi. So then I just did some research and I learned that. So that is why I said the concept is there, Metta gardening, but the additional things we have to technically learn by referring some literature and then the existing knowledge, and then of course applying it practically with the enthusiasm, because it's very easy to be a failure. But to continue, you have to really determine to continue it with the enthusiasm. So in this session, I didn't touch that side, how you should do it practically, but if we want to teach it, I'm sure it's kind of a several series of sessions that we have to have. So if I start teaching it in other parts of the world, then definitely I have to do some homework and of course be aware of, but basics are the same. Composting, universally it is the same concept, but then definitely we have to learn additional things. So it is quite difficult to mention and explain the process, but it is all simply following the existing traditional methods, good practices those countries have, and then doing that with the metta, with the loving kindness, more than just growing things. It is coming out of your heart, that feeling of emotions and why you are doing, what's the purpose of doing, what is you are gaining, and what is you are giving for the nature. So that is where you have to bring to this gardening process.
Kanchana, then I also have a follow-up question here. Have you considered, now that the concept is also growing and there's different locations, that maybe it would be useful to create some kind of like a guidebook that can be internationally shared, and really any location who hear about this concept can say, okay, I want to learn about it, and then you can explain step by step, and sometimes also with drawings, with some visuals. Okay, how does it work when you set up a Metta garden?
Yes, Belinda. Actually, I'm in the process of writing a small booklet, a manual kind of for a Metta garden. But before that, Sri Lankan English newspaper, one journalist interviewed me, and he published 8 series of articles with 8 articles in English newspaper. So I'm using that as well. So we have already introduced to Sri Lanka, but yes, a guideline and a kind of a complete manual will be coming out soon. I hope that I will have energy to finish it soon.
That's wonderful. And then my question is that do you have funding for it, or are you doing it mostly from your volunteer work?
Actually, that is the I don't know, challenging part. No funding at all. Even Sri Lankan Metta Garden is also, like, due to pandemic, we couldn't find any funding, but there were some friends who really helped us with some little funding, where we manage in Sri Lankan Metta Gardening maintenance, we have a girl and a man who is looking after that permanently, because we have to be with the garden. So we are covering their salaries. through the support from the friends that we had and we have. So other than that, no other avenues for us. So it's all, even those 15 Metta gardeners who are with us, they are doing it voluntary, and I am providing with my team members totally voluntary. So we don't have any payments for them.
So then I'm so sorry to be bothering you with this, but I know that this is difficult, especially when someone is only putting volunteer energy, because we all need livelihood, right, for our work to be carried out. And I would like to offer support for you to do kind of like a quick crowdfunding for even for this booklet. I think it's a very tangible thing that you are offering, and we can use the network here also to populate the link for such an occasion, an initiative. So because I think it's important that anything that you are doing for long term, it needs to have the sustainability, not only in terms of environment sustainability, but also for the financial. So if anyone else have some other ideas, please go for it. I know that there are other initiatives here in our networks who are working on also supporting initiatives, but I want to offer that help for you, Kanchana.
Thank you so much, Melinda. That would be very helpful, because the young girl and the person who is there are depending on the Metta garden salaries and whatever things. So likewise, other gardeners also need their sustainability. So if somebody can get together and do some fundraising, crowdfunding, that would be really appreciated, because then we can do more work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kanchana. Ted.
Yeah, hi. I came in just a little bit late, so I hope my question isn't something you already talked about, but I love how quickly these gardens regenerate, that you've been doing. And, I'm aware of this larger urban gardens movement that might come from many different sources in society, and I'm just curious, in doing these Metta gardens, have you encountered other people who are working on a similar idea? Like, maybe just a local neighborhood who decided to do a garden or something else, because I would guess there would be some kind of mutual learning. And I'm just curious about your experiences in that area.
Yeah, Ted, in Sri Lanka is the main experience coming for me is from Sri Lanka. And there are some home gardeners where I inculcated some concepts to them. And of course, I shared some local seeds with them. So they were quite happy. And also, which is beautiful, is that once they see our garden where the butterflies are, flying throughout the day and the birds are there. So they really ask, because there are particular the host plants that we have to plant for the butterflies to come and enjoy their lifestyle. So then, can I have some seeds from that garden? So there is a kind of a mutual exchange happening. And of course, traditional seeds we are sharing with others. But other than that, this mindset, change in mindset is not really happening among the neighborhood, because their main idea is having food and either selling that produce, because everything is difficult for the moment, right? So, but I think in the future we can really, but when the kids come and get the training, they love it. They say, can I have a butterfly plant, please? And then they go with the butterfly plant. We have a small nursery also. We are trying to raise funds by selling those nursery plants. And then we are slowly spreading the seeds. So it's like kind of a TED at the moment. I think with the pandemic, we had to stop a lot of activities for 2 years almost. But it is kind of a, if I explain this thing, it is like a throwing a seed pot to the middle of the tank, and then the seeds are taken with the ripples. So it is kind of, so today I think it is a big step talking about this concept to the international crowd. So I hope that seeds will just spread all over the world, because practically we have used this and we have realized it's a beautiful concept that it can spread with especially with the younger generation to come.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ryogo, please. Oh, we cannot hear you. 1 second. It says connecting to audio.
He may be going through Tom.
Ah,
So
now,
すいません、
now.
いけますか？
はい。
日本語でいいですか？
はい、どう
Thank
ぞ。
you.
はい、すいません。ちょっと2点ほど、質問。
There are a couple
一
of
つが質
questions I
問
would
で、
like to raise.
でもう一つは、ちょっと日本
And I,
Oh, you are muted again.
not I'm muting.
Ah.
No, he needs to
Right.
mute on the Zoom and talk to me through line.
Okay.
That's why I muted him.
竹本さん、LINE の方でお話ししてくださいますか？はい、そちらを。はい。This is my first question. You spoke about connectivity like a spider's web.
Yes.
I thought it's an amazing activity. Meanwhile, when you have volunteers and employees working with you in your relationships, can you really have a truly equal relationship without any hierarchy at all? Is it really possible to have that kind of relationship with the people? I have established the electricity retail company. I sell electricity. And I've been struggling with building human relationships in my organization, and I'd like to get some hints from you. That was my first question. Yeah.
Okay. Can I answer it, Tom, now? Okay. Yes, because we give all the training using all these environmental elements which are naturally and visible to everybody. So for instance, when we invite a bunch of team members to come to the Metta garden for the training, they see this. They see what is happening there. And it is a peaceful environment where we talk to each other, we do meditation. We call it meditation, but it is more like relaxation through nature, using the nature sounds. And at that time, with their feedback, I know that they have that true connectivity with the nature. So for instance, when we guide them to concentrate on a bird call, that is the first time they are awakening with that sound, because they give us the feedback. Oh my God, I have heard it before, but I never thought about it this way. So that simply awakening of that connectivity is very much useful. I think in your situation, you are trying to use the machinery, maybe no such life scene, but maybe you can bring that sixth sensory organ, which I described, the spirituality and emotion, that kind of more, it's very difficult. I'm still trying to describe what it is in my book, but I will find it, hopefully with somebody's help. So if we can bring that emotional side of human with the loving kindness, I'm sure that we can achieve it. Because as I said, I have very big love for my computer. That love is nothing selfish. It's just the respect. And I can let go. If it is broken, I can let go kind of feeling, because I know it is serving me, I'm respecting it. So if we can teach such things for the human, I think it will take some time. And also you can't achieve 100% success, but I'm sure it is doable, because I have seen it among the trainees in our Metta garden, especially in this line. So I hope that you can try, maybe using some plants when you are trying to talk to people, and bring that connectivity to your machinery and something. Maybe try to use something live.
Thank you. I haven't. I'd like to share an example from Japan. There was a student who proposed a concept. He made a composting pack that you can use in your home. It's becoming popular in the city of Kyoto. Many people who don't have any connection to the land can make compost from their waste in their house. And you take 2 kilograms of compost to a store that is registered with the system. And that store will buy that compost from you. And they will give you something, or they will give you an electronic currency as a return for the compost that you contributed. They've created this kind of a cycle for, reusing resources. It's a really interesting example. It was just sharing an experience in Japan.
Thank you so much for sharing that experience.
So I'm going to try to do my best. Thank you for your advice.
Good luck.
Thank you. And I just wanted to ask if maybe also Terra Energy, I know that, we discussed it in one of the webinars, that Terra Energy also is turning back part of the income to other social initiatives in Japan. And I don't know if there's a possibility to maybe to open up a little initiative about the Metta garden in Japan or support Kanchana. But just want to put that idea in, that maybe that could be an interesting cooperation between the two of you.
Yeah, if there are such activities in Japan, we would be very interested in supporting them. Eventually, we would also like to take up the challenge to support things, outside of Japan as well. We are donating to Ayus, which is a Buddhist NGO in Japan, among other groups.
Thank you. This is really lovely. Kanchana, you hear that there's a call to start a Metta garden in Japan then.
Exactly, Melinda. I was thinking when the pandemic is over, maybe we can start a Metta garden there, which will be very beautiful for all the Japanese people as well, with their kind hearts.
Lovely. Anyone else having a question? John?
I actually have a small clarification or contextualization that I thought I'd share with people who aren't familiar with the Echo Temple movement. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly. Yeah, here we go. Where is it? Should be this. Okay, see this? INF Echo Temple Strategic Matrix. So Kanchana's work fits into one of the reasons for our network is that we can work on a lot of different levels and kind of create a synergy and a system. So we have a lot of members working in really different ways. And if we complement each other, it really comes one sort of larger system. So you can see here, right here in the center, that Kanchana's work is it's local ecology, food security, waste management for home and community. It's a very, it seems quite simple.
John, I
and
don't think you have the right slide on the being shared. We're seeing the Metta Garden message online here. Yeah.
what are you,
Yeah.
what are you saying?
Your Facebook ICE network page.
Facebook, the ICE, yeah.
Okay, sorry. I don't know why. Let's see. Sorry about that. Thank you for stopping me. Where is it? Ah, here it is. Sorry, wrong Google Chrome. Okay, how's that?
Yes.
Yes. So you see here in the top sort of middle center, local ecology through food security, waste management, home and community. So this is this sort of on the most, what is the concept called? The principle of subsidiary. You do something at the most local level that you can. And this is so important because so many people feel sort of paralyzed by the environmental crisis and that they can't do anything. And, or if you tell them that they can do something, they feel it's too simplistic. But when it's integrated into a whole system, it becomes something much more. So we have Kanchana's work here, which is really important for the local community level. And then we have some friends working in Thailand, especially Prasongkham, with this kind of restoration of larger farming lands through the Kok Nong Na work. And then another one in Thailand, even larger stretches of land, another monk who's working on securing wildlife corridors. So we go from the very local to sort of the community level, little bit larger pieces of land, and then finally to the regional and transnational. So these are like three kind of geographical areas that we work in, from smallest to largest. And then something that's kind of cross-sector. We also work in technology. So trying to develop clean, sustainable energy, like Reverend Takemoto, who just spoke, who's developing a Buddhist-based clean electricity company. We also have another kind of technology aspect, which is ecological architecture. Our previous webinar a few months ago was Gautam in southern India, who's working with compressed stabilized earth blocks. And also one of the participants today, Reverend Okochi, has worked on clean architecture. And then over here, we also have people working on the right side on social enterprise. So we're trying to bring the economic aspect in so that some of our projects can also become income generating projects. So then they become quite much more economically sustainable. Reverend Takemoto's work is very much like this. He's making money from selling electricity, but then using the profits to put into environmental work. And then another thing we're also looking at is community tourism and working holiday. So this is just a way that we're trying to, again, this is part of the power of the Eco Temple kind of concept, is putting it all together so that our individual actions that sometimes they seem like they're not enough, or they're too simplistic, or they're too theoretical, or they're too big, or too something, actually become quite powerful as one piece in a much larger puzzle. So that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to sort of fill in some of the sort of gaps.
Thank you, John. I think it's super, super useful, and also for everyone to keep in mind the bigger picture and this framework that is working within the network. Yeah, anyone else having questions, comments, suggestions? Also, not only for Kanchana, but also you are welcome to point out maybe connections that we haven't seen yet that you think it would be useful within this network. Kanchana, I still have one more question. I wanted to ask you, so far in your experience, now it's 8 years that you are doing Metta Garden. What has been the biggest challenge with operating Metta Gardens?
Actually, biggest challenge is like we have this again human coming and stealing all the produce. So it's when they come without our permission, they just damage all the plants and they just try to grab whatever they can. So it's a kind of a societal issue we have in the urban setup because people are jobless. So they just come and I go like, I cry when I see that they have damaged my plants when they try to, we have this cassava or manioc and they just grab it and along with that, all the herbs are also just pulling out. So I think that's the biggest challenge. We can't help that at the moment. So other than that, all the things are very positive. Some neighbors are bringing their kids to see the garden, and while they were trying to feed the kids, so to show the butterflies and the plants and birds. So all others are very positive from the society. I think, yeah, and also finding some funds is the biggest challenge to keep it maintaining. Yeah.
සල්ලි හොයන ඒවා තමයිනේ පොඩි දෙයක් කරලා
Indira?
Hi.
Would you like to ask a question? I think you are the one who's speaking, so we're just trying to give you space for that.
I was just wondering whether we could sort of bring it back to the village back in Sri Lanka, whether that could be introduced as a solution to the present crisis, where we have to sort of convince people that we can manage without fertilizer and insecticides.
If I answer your question, Indira, I think yes, Sri Lanka has the biggest platform to do that. I think now government side also they are encouraging organic farming as a policy, and this is a very good time that if we can really take this beautiful concept of Metta to the gardening, but it's a process. It is not just like one training and like done. No, it's a process that we have to keep preaching. And then I'm sure our people, because they have that traditional knowledge and they have automatically that connectivity with the natural environment. Our villagers are unspoiled still, quite happy about it. So we can do that, but it is very time consuming maybe because people are really running after the materialistic development. But if we try, we can do that. I see that.
Yeah, what I feel is that that's the only chance that we can take to introduce it to the society, because the villagers are still sort of receptive to such things, because they really have consideration for nature and also the Metta concept as well. So whether we could do that, and I think it should ideally be a national program. Kanchana is the best one to introduce it back home.
Like it, Dali.
Thank you so much. We are trying actually. We are trying to approach the sustainable something. John was in communication with our Department of Sustainability or something with the government.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's positive, and you know how it is in the village, and the village I work in as well. And I have found that people were quite receptive. They still have that concept of kindness, caring,
Altruistic happiness.
yeah, and
Yeah.
also like they don't want to harm nature unless they have to do it. So that way, I think still we have the opportunity of introducing it in a village.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Indira.
We have a plan for Kanchana to give this same webinar in Sinhala to a Sinhala audience. We're in the planning stage, but maybe we can do it in the next month or two. I'm hoping. So we can do it in a larger network for all sorts of people in Sri Lanka in their native language.
Yeah, very good point, John. I see that we are almost at the end of our time, but Jagantini is still having a question. So let's listen to her and then maybe we close. Jagantini?
Yeah, hi. Actually, I'm a newcomer with Kanchana's program, and I have done very little, but I have learned quite a lot from Kanchana about Metta Garden. Actually, this is more of a request more than a question, like what Indra said, like about Sri Lanka and how we should get things going because the government is very eager, and more like government is taking very drastic actions at the moment, getting fertilizer from other countries. So I think if we are to do this, we should get into it very quickly, like into this program before Sri Lankan government makes maybe not very wise decisions, because already we have an issue going on right now with the fertilizer, organic fertilizer having vermins and so many other issues. I don't know the details though, but that's what we are talking about in the news. So maybe if we are doing anything in Sri Lanka, we should get going very soon. That was my request. So Kanchana, maybe please give your more, how do you say, more relative information on that, please.
Thank you, Jagantini. Actually, she is one of the 15 Metta gardeners, and I have never met her yet, but we are very much interconnected through WhatsApp. The whole program is running via WhatsApp at the moment, but they were very enthusiastic and sharing everything with the pictures and comments, so videos. So thank you so much for being with us. And I am learning through you, Jagantini, because how to do this. So we will do this. I hope that we will have an avenue to take it for a larger audience.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Then I think we are at the very end of our...
Quick question, Kanchana, when do you said you were planning to go to Sri Lanka soon?
John, I was there 2 weeks ago and I came back, but December, I'll be going December. Yeah, again.
Okay, great.
Lovely. So stay tuned for more information on Kanchana's work and on the Metta Garden concept in Sinhala. Hopefully still this year we can make that webinar happen. And yeah, maybe just let's just close our call with just a joint moment of mindfulness. If anyone would like to offer a prayer, that's also very much appreciated. And thank you so much for
a moment of metta.
Exactly.
Can you lead us, Kanchana, in a moment of metta?
Okay, I'll try my best. So I would like to invite everybody to have a deep breath and inhale and hold it and release it. So do it twice or thrice. Very deep breath, inhale, release. And with this breath, we are inhaling all the oxygen from environment, and that makes us live. And then we are exhaling carbon dioxide, which is making the trees live. So with that mutual understanding of us and the natural world, the connectedness among us, trees, and all living beings, may all of them live long and happy, and with all sort of metta among ourselves, may all us get positive energy to live healthy and happy. Metta. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Kanchana. Thank you, John. And thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.